This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN in LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Lots of stuff to get into today. Some baseball on the docket. The Yankees and the Dodgers foremost on my mind. I'll definitely be talking about that. The Red Sox made a trade with the New York Mets. New York Mets going to get back some prospects. Boston's going to get a closer, whether or not that's going to deliver the championship for them. I'll tell you what my thoughts are about that. Lots of stuff to get into with the Cowboys, primarily Ezekiel Elliott, and I don't understand for the life of me why this man's case is still being wide open and entertained by the National Football League. I think it's incredibly unfair to him. And I will explain why. I can't believe I'm coming to the defense of a Dallas Cowboy, but I think it's appropriate in this particular day and time. I think the mocking of LeBron James by Steph Curry speaks volumes about a couple of things. I'm going to re-air my final take that I just aired on ESPN's First Take this morning. So all of those things are definitely things that I'm going to touch on. Make no mistake about it, but something else is on my mind. And I can't avoid getting into this. I just feel it's appropriate to start the show off on this today. Mr. LeVar Ball, father of Lonzo Ball, founder for the Big Baller brand, the man who didn't have any of his three sons playing in the pros yet, but felt but had the temerity to go to the sneaker companies and ask for $1 billion for all three of his sons. $1 billion. Hadn't played a game in the pros, none of them. But that's what he wanted. So all of those things are things that have come to light, and we've known LeVar Ball for quite some time. He's been a guest on First Take that airs on ESPN every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific. He's been a guest right here on this radio show with yours truly. I personally happen to like the man. As obnoxious and crazy as he can be, I find him to be thoroughly entertaining. And somebody who has undeniably put his son in the spotlight. There's a reason Summer League basketball was interesting to us this past summer. There's a reason you've got Laker Nation looking forward to the Los Angeles Lakers playing basketball this upcoming season. There's a reason Magic Johnson was in Vegas for the Summer League finale talking about how the Lakers are back. There's a reason people are wondering what the hell did the Knicks get in the NBA draft. But this is beyond the scope of all of that, because it's fair to say that LeVar Ball, the father of Lonzo and LaMelo and all of these boys, I mean, this dude is officially out of control. He's the coach of the Big Baller brand team. His son LaMelo is on the team. On at least two occasions thus far this summer, he's pulled this team off the court because he was upset at the officiating. In other words, take your ball and go home, instead of dealing with stuff like men are supposed to deal with things. Well, in this particular situation, he took it even a step further. There were officials calling this game. One of them was a female. He was issued a technical foul by the referee. He threatened to have his team walk off the floor if she was not replaced. And for some reason, Adidas capitulated to all of that. A male referee was swapped in. Ball was still later ejected after a second technical foul. And the referees called the game when he refused to leave the court. Outside of the arena, according to reports, he went on a sexist rant in which he said, quote, she needs to stay in her lane because she ain't ready for this. Now, obviously, the replacement of the female referee didn't sit well with Court Club Elite, which is the group that provided the officials for the tournament. The Adidas Uprising Summer Championships. That's the name of the tournament. The Court Club Elite is the group that provided the officials for the tournament. They terminated their deal with Adidas immediately after this transpired. There have been some who speculated that Adidas made the swap to appease Ball for a potential shoe negotiation for his son Lonzo. Sources say, however, there have been no talks between Ball and Adidas since the beginning, when Ball asked all the big shoe companies for $1 billion for his son's rights. A quote, a statement from Adidas. The referee substitutions made during our tournament last week are not in line with our company values, Adidas said in a statement. It was the wrong decision. We regret the decision and are looking into the matter to make sure our standards for sportsmanship, equality, and fair play are met in the future. They also said in a statement that any representation that we would compromise our values and inclusive approach for the benefit of any individual is inaccurate. Well, Adidas, talk about being late to the party. What the hell you mean any representation that we would compromise our values and inclusive approach for the benefit of any individual is inaccurate? It's exactly what you did. It's exactly what you did. There's no way around that. And I'm not even talking about because of a technical or an ejection that was incurred by LeVar Ball. I'm talking about your willingness to substitute out the referee who was a female in favor of a male referee because LeVar Ball threatened to take the team off the court if you didn't do it. That's what happened. Now, if you're LeVar Ball. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who know me, you know I've tried to give this man every benefit of the doubt. From day one, I was never comfortable with how he put himself front and center because I talked about how it just basically applied unnecessary pressure to his son. He said his son can handle it. He's entitled to take such a position, so be it. But in the end, I just thought it was not wise. However, I didn't think it was right for people to question him as a dad or a parent. I didn't think it was right for folks to question him as a family man and how much he loved his children. And I don't believe that just because you think you would beat Michael Jordan in a one-on-one or Charles Barkley in a one-on-one game, or you think your son is better than Steph Curry, I don't think that warrants some of the vitriol that has been aimed towards him. I don't believe that. And I think that's important to point out. I think that's important to say. This, however, this rant he went on and the way that he conducted himself is entirely different. First of all, he may not be sexist at all, but his rant was, stay in your lane, out of shape. That's what he called the referee. I looked at the referee. I didn't think she was out of shape. And you just felt like the commentary on his part was completely unnecessary. Secondly, and more importantly, that would mark the third time you will have taken your team off the court if indeed you had elected to try to do that. And ultimately, they had to call a game because you were ejected and you wouldn't leave. So LeVar Ball doesn't want to follow rules and regulations. I'm going to let y'all know something. Los Angeles Lakers have a problem. The Los Angeles Lakers have a problem on their hands. I'll explain why in just a minute. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Look, I know there's someone out there who had a bad night's sleep. You know why I know this? Because I used to be just like you. I deprived myself of proper rest because of my chronic snoring. But that was before I tried the revolutionary device called Zeepa. Zeepa's a game changer, y'all. I'm going to break it down for you like this. If you get good sleep, you feel better. You've got better energy. If you don't, you feel blind, tired all the time. You're just lagging along throughout the day. Zeepa is the answer for great sleep. Let me say it again. Zeepa is the only snorer solution of its kind. And if you or someone you know snores, you need to get a Zeepa. I want you to go to Zeepa.com right now. It's pronounced Zeepa. It's spelled Z-Y-P-P-A-H. And it's easy to remember because it's Zeepa. Zeepa is happy Z spelled backwards. So go to Zeepa.com right now and get a Zeepa. Tell everybody you know to get a Zeepa. Remember, it's Zeepa. Zyppa. That's ZYPPAH, Zyppa. Go to Zyppa.com and get the great sleep you need and the great sleep you deserve. Again, I'll explain why the Los Angeles Lakers have a problem and how the NBA may have a problem as well if they don't reel certain stuff in quick, fast, and in a hurry when it comes to Mr. LeVar Ball. I'll explain exactly what I mean upon my return in just a minute. You are listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Like, wow, nobody ever does it. Oh, just sit there and take the punishment. No, I ain't sitting there and taking nothing because I don't have to. And that's what I'm telling my kids. You don't have to do nothing you don't want to do. I don't care what they say.
That's LeVar Ball. Head coach, founder for the Big Baller brand. Talking about why he will pull his team off the court, why he won't sit up there and capitulate to anything. Telling kids you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. In what world? What kind of lesson is that to teach? But let's go a little bit further with LeVar Ball. Look at what he said about the female referee in particular. Listen to this.
That's why you guys are shocked on that. I don't care if you're a ref. I don't care what you are. If you're not being fair, I'm not going to sit there and let you just do some bullshit.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's a question. And this is why you know it's so bad. Ladies and gentlemen, can any of y'all point to one individual, one athlete in the history of sports, high school, college, pros, that has never had a complaint about an official? Can anybody tell me one person, just one, who is an athlete on any level, who swears they never played in a game with bad officiating? Ever. Who is that person? LeVar Ball is off his damn rocker. Makes no sense. And if we want to be real serious about this, basically what you're teaching kids and you're telling kids that you're coaching, because your son ain't the only one you're coaching now. You ain't got to do anything you don't want to do. In what world? Who gets to do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do, and operate with impunity? Who gets to do that, particularly when you're kids? Nobody. I genuinely like LeVar Ball. His rant was sexist, but more importantly than anything else, or just as important, rather, he's sending the wrong message. And if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, ladies and gentlemen, what's going to stop him from speaking out when Lonzo don't play particularly great and the Lakers are losing? What's he going to say then? Whose fault is it going to be then? What are you going to do next? You going to go out on the court and tell your son, come on, man, get off the court. You ain't playing for this nonsense. Let's go, Lonzo. You going to pull him out of the purple and gold? You going to tell him, come, let's go home? What you going to do? 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. Another item I wanted to get into was Kyrie Irving. And no, it's not the video with Steph Curry, mocking LeBron James at Harrison Barnes' wedding. He was mocking LeBron James, by the way, and Kyrie Irving was having an absolute ball laughing at his own teammate. But that's a story for another day. Here's the story that I'm most interested in. I think the best team for Kyrie Irving to join are the New York Knicks. I'm a Knicks fan, and I know San Antonio would be better, but they'd have to give up big time to get him. I don't think they're going to do that. Miami would have to do the same. I don't think they're going to do that. Minnesota would have to do the same. I don't think they're going to do that. The Knicks would unload Melo if Melo waives his no-trade clause, and that's the question right now because he wants to be in Houston rather than Cleveland, so he's not waiving his no-trade clause, even though before the season ended, he expressed a willingness to waive his no-trade clause in order to go to Cleveland until CP3 went to Houston. Things are getting very, very interesting. But I'll tell you something right now. Being from New Jersey, with his daddy being from the Mitchell Projects in the Bronx, with him having the love and support in this area that he would have, with him being just 25 years of age, capable of dancing on anybody, averaging 25 points per game, winning a championship, being a closer, Kyrie Irving would be thoroughly embraced in this New York market. And I sincerely hope that he ends up in New York. I really, really do. But a lot of it depends on Melo and Cleveland, but more so Melo. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. To the phones we go. Let's go to Ray in Queens. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Ray?
Yeah, Steve, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. Just I just want to give you. I just want your opinion on that Kyrie Irving situation again, man. I called you last week. I know you don't remember. You get 1,000 calls, but I was listening to Max 2 this morning.
I got news for you, bro. If you call into the radio show, chances are you want to get my opinion. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, I totally agree with what Max was saying. Like, don't get me wrong, Kyrie is a great talent, man. I see that, but I don't put him in the category as a player that can just carry a franchise, man. Like,
okay, stop right there. Stop right there. I'm putting you on the spot. Give me the players right now who do you believe can carry a franchise?
Well, all the players that can carry a franchise are already locked in.
No, that is not what I asked you.
Okay,
I asked you, Ray, give me the players in the NBA right now who you believe can carry a franchise. Go.
Kawhi Leonard.
All right, one.
LeBron James.
Two.
Kevin Durant.
Three.
Chris Paul.
Four. Anthony Davis.
Yes.
Five.
To an extent.
Five.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
5. Russell Westbrook.
6. Let's stop at 6.
Yeah, let's stop at 6.
How about throwing James Harden in there?
No, yes, give me James Harden.
That's
James
7,
Harden.
right?
Yeah.
How many teams in the NBA?
About
30.
30?
Right.
Okay.
What about the other 22, 23 teams?
Yeah, he can't carry them. That's my point.
So, in other words, all those guys you mentioned, Chris Paul, you know me, I love me some Chris Paul.
I love Chris Paul, too.
Chris Paul has never played in the conference finals.
You're absolutely right. But my point is this.
Hold on, wait. Did you believe Melo could carry a team?
I did. Yes, I did.
Time out. Been to one conference finals, been to one conference semifinals, never been to the NBA finals, which means that the other 10 years he was out in the first round.
And that's why I tell a lot of my friends and my coworkers that a lot of this blame goes on Carmelo Anthony, what's happening with the Knicks franchise.
But what I'm saying to you is this. Somebody has to lead some team. You only gave me 7 names. So what I'm saying to you is that carry you where? Do you realize that 8 teams out of one conference makes the playoffs every year?
Yeah, and my thing is, I'm not saying that he has to. I'm not saying that Kyrie Irving has to go to New York and save us automatically. What I'm saying is, I don't think he can do what Jason Kidd did for the Nets. He carried the Nets. When Kenyon Martin went to Denver, he was a total bust.
Game was different back then. Here's what I'm willing to tell you. He needs parts around him just like anybody else. But do I think Kyrie can be the lead dude for a playoff team? Yes. He's not LeBron or any of the guys that you mentioned outside of Chris Paul, even though Chris Paul is a better floor orchestrator and floor general than he is. He's a scorer. Chris Paul's a quintessential point guard. But what I am saying to you is that there's 30 teams in the league. You only gave me 7 guys.
Yeah, but I just don't feel like, I don't think, and in the watered down East, he was on Cleveland for 3 years by himself.
But he just got in the league. He played 11 games in college, comes into the NBA when LeBron is gone. In his first 3 years in the league, they got better each year. The last year before LeBron came, they won 33 games. I mean, he's 21 years of age. My God. Can the dude get an opportunity to pass gas? Can he do that? I mean, come on, man. Ray, I got to go. Call me back tomorrow. But, I mean, my Lord, Joe. Kyrie is not a scrub. The brother averaged 25. He averaged 27 and 29 respectively in the last two NBA Finals. He's got a chip. Why are y'all talking about him like he's just chopped liver? He's not LeBron. He's not any of those guys you mentioned. But Kyrie's a bad boy. He really, really is. 866-729-ESPN. More of your calls on Kyrie, on LeVar, and then some in a minute with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of Sirius XM, Channel 80. Before I get back to the phones at 866-729-ESPN, that's 866-729-3776. I was talking about Kyrie Irving after I was talking about Lonzo Ball. And that brings me to the subject of the Big 3-on-3 tournament sponsored by founder Ice Cube, supported by guys like LL Cool J and others, myself as well. Allen Iverson made news over the weekend. Big 3-on-3 tournament was scheduled to take place in Dallas. Allen Iverson was a no-show. Allen Iverson, according to reports, did not reach out and inform anybody. They were unaware that he would not be in attendance. It was a surprise and a shock to everybody. They're investigating the matter, and they'll move further. I reached out to Allen Iverson last night, spoke to him, and he informed me he had a family emergency involving his child. Enough said in terms of that. Not going to question it. Family first. God knows I'm somebody, particularly at this day and time, who definitely can appreciate that. All of that is true. But there's a couple of things that's very, very important to say. A, no matter what's going on, it should not have prevented you from picking up the phone to call somebody, if indeed you did not call them. Should at least call and let them know you weren't going to be there. And B, I don't know about everybody else, but this 3-on-3 thing that Ice Cube is sponsoring, it's a very big deal. It's important. When you think about former players who still think they've got it, or that aren't good enough to be in the NBA anymore but aspire to continue playing in some capacity because they love the game that much, they just can't run up and down the court for 82 games a night, putting that wear and tear on their bodies. They can't sustain that anymore. But they could do a 3-on-3 half-court tournament. I think it's important to point out that that's a good thing. I haven't heard the NBA speak up about it. Certainly, I haven't heard them lend their support to the big 3-on-3 dudes like Ice Cube. I was proud to see the Russell Westbrooks of the world show up to a game in Tulsa, along with others. That's a big deal. As it pertains to Allen Iverson, couldn't play in Philadelphia. Dehydration, doctor's note. Didn't show up in Dallas. Family issues involving his child, but didn't call. Ice Cube and this tournament doesn't need that. Again, we talking about my man here, my little brother. Everybody knows how far back Allen Iverson and I go. I love him dearly. And if he says it was a family issue, it was a family issue. My response is, why couldn't you call? Why couldn't you give them a heads up and let everybody know you weren't going to be there? Just like the fans in Philadelphia found out an hour prior to your team playing that you weren't going to play. Who do you think the folks in Philadelphia came to see? I've said this before, and I say this again. Ladies and gentlemen, there are very few athletes in the history of sports and of North American sports that have had such a profound impact on communities like Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is so big time, if he put on a suit and showed up, it would be news. Just put on a suit. That's all he'd have to do. That's how much it would resonate. He is a culture changer. He's also somebody I believe has blown a whole lot of money. Because let me tell you something right now. If you could trust Allen Iverson to show up on time, if you could trust Allen Iverson to be professional and to show up to work or whatever, he'd probably be working here on TNT someplace. He'd be making millions. Could you imagine if Allen Iverson decided, I want to be a commentator on the sport of basketball? Let me ask y'all a question. He ain't going to get a job offer? For 7 figures? All you got to do is show up on time and look the part. If there was ever an individual that didn't believe in capitulating, it would be Allen Iverson. And out of nothing but sheer love, I would ask the rhetorical question, where has that gotten him? And if you are LeVar Ball, and you speak in a way about people being able to do what they want to do, would you please do me a favor and remind these kids of the price that could be paid for doing what you want to do? Remember, Colin Kaepernick did what he wanted to do too. And we applaud him, most of us. I don't find anything wrong. My issue with him being a flaming hypocrite was only because of his position on voting, nothing else. But now he's struggling to find a job. Because those owners are saying, you know what, hell no. We don't want other folks to think they can emulate his behavior, affect our bottom line, and there's not going to be a price. See, that's the real world. All this other stuff that everybody wants to talk about, you want to act like there's no price, you go right ahead. But this is the real price. This is the price that comes along with it. That's the message they're sending to Colin Kaepernick and the Colin Kaepernicks of the world. As wrong as they may be when it comes to Kaepernick, that's the message they're sending. It's a dissuasive maneuver for those who aspire to emulate him. In other words, LeVar, there is a price. Whether it's Kaepernick, Iverson, or anybody else, there's always a price. Not telling anybody not to do what they feel in their heart they need to do. Just recognize the cost that comes along the way. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Back to your phone calls in a minute. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, you know, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Speaking of Colin Kaepernick, listen to the owner, Steve Bisciotti, for the Baltimore Ravens. Speak about him. Hear the nervousness in his voice. Talk about somebody quivering, for crying out loud. Listen to this man who's a billionaire owner for the Baltimore Ravens. Listen to him speak about Colin Kaepernick. Listen to this.
Do want to win games, and I'm not sure right now that he is going to help us do that. You know, we're monitoring Joe. We've talked to Joe about it. We're monitoring Mallet. We're keeping our door open. We talked about RG3, bringing him in for a workout. We're very sensitive to it, and we're monitoring it, and we're still, as Ozzie says, scrimmaging it, and we're trying to figure out what's the right tact, and so pray for us.
Pray for us. Pray for us. Now, why I feel the need to say that? Colin Kaepernick passed up $12 million, opted out of his deal, wanted to be on the free agent market. He's 11-24 in his last 35 starts as a quarterback. 1-10 last season. Has completed 60% or less of his passes the last 3 years. The last 3 years. And all of a sudden you talk about pray for us. Why? Because you're nervous, that's why. Because you know what I know. This man is being ostracized. And he's not being blackballed in the sense that folks are colluding and, oh, my God, they're getting on a phone with one another as owners and conspiring to keep him out of the league. That's not what I mean when I'm saying blackballed. What I mean is no one wants to touch him because he alienated a large segment of our population. And when you combine that with the fact that they want to send dissuasive messages to Colin Kaepernick wannabes to make sure that everybody avoids emulating his behavior, this is the way they do it. So when you take the stance that you take, not discouraging you to do so, but know what you're getting into. And a whole bunch of people out there were raving and talking about Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, way to go, Colin, way to go. Are you paying his bills? You going to pick up the tab? You going to watch his back? Or are you just going to talk from afar? Even calling up radio shows where you're scared to give your last name so nobody knows specifically who you are. Why you want him to be front and center. I'm just asking. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. What's going on?
Hey, Stephen A., great to hear from you again, man. Your vacation was well-deserved, man. I know it was.
Thank you, man.
No problem. Just real quick, I want to talk about Lonzo and what I saw from him in Summer League. I know it's just Summer League, Stephen A., but I see a guy who doesn't play with a lot of emotion, and I don't really see the playmaker that everybody thinks he is. I know it's just Summer League, but I see a guy coming off pick and roll, Stephen A., and I don't see the great decision-making that I saw at UCLA. He looks indecisive, but that's just my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is on that.
It's Summer League, so I'm not going to judge him harshly. I do believe he's an exceptional passer who's got that it factor when it comes to making others better. But that doesn't mean he's not going to get eaten alive by some of the opposing guards he's got to go up against. What's your second point?
Exactly. And just real quick about the whole LeVar thing and the AAU and the whole circus over there, you know what's even more alarming for me, Stephen, as far as that, is the fact that the parents of these other players outside of LaMelo are allowing their children to stick around and be involved with this after the fact of what LeVar continues to do. That's even more alarming in my opinion, because if I had a son, he would not be playing for him after that first incident.
I'm not gonna lie to you. My son, if I had a son, he would not be playing for a coach that's gonna pull his team off the court. There's only one time when I thought such an act would be justified. And that is when Allen Iverson was playing at Georgetown, and they went to Villanova, and they had all of these vicious signs that were being held up and paraded in his face and et cetera. John Thompson, the great John Thompson, told Villanova, if you don't get those signs down, we walking out of here. That's the only time that I've ever seen it justified where if a team was taken off the court, that would have warranted it. Don't tell me because you don't like calls or the officiating is bad that it's justification for robbing kids of an opportunity to play a basketball game. It's inexcusable. Got to run, bro. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Louie. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Louie?
Hey, Stephen A. Thank you very much for taking my call. Real quickly, I just want to get to the calling Kaepernick issue. I thought it was very funny, how the owner of the Ravens came out and said that they're actually surveying the fans. They're surveying the fan bases to see whether or not we're going to pick this quarterback up or entertain the offer.
Yeah.
But they got no problem going after a CFL guy quarterback. He's on the roster for 3 days, and then he's waived.
Yeah. There ain't no way around it. I don't blame you for laughing. If I ain't had to do the damn show and I took some time, I'd be laughing too.
I just think it's really funny, and people need to wake up and just, when Roger Goodell says we're not, the owners aren't doing this or not doing that, but look at the actions. Look at the actions that they're taking. And that's really all you got to say. I'm a Colin Kaepernick fan. I do disagree with some of the things he did, the way he handled it, et cetera. But when you look at talent for the game,
there is no reason why Colin Kaepernick shouldn't be on somebody's NFL roster. Period.
Yes, sir.
Period. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you. My man Mike in Denver. What's going on, big bro? How you doing?
What's happening with you, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, bro. Talk to me.
Hey, man, I just wanted to talk about that LeVar Ball incident. Man, like the other guy just was talking to you, ain't nowhere in the world I had my kids playing with him, man. He's sending the wrong messages any kind of way for had the kids not, participate on the game level. What's wrong with him, Stephen?
I don't know what's wrong. I mean, listen, like I said, it was fun when he was obnoxious and just thought he could beat Michael Jordan or Charles Barkley in a one-on-one or something. Like, nobody care about that. That's cool. That's harmless. You think your son's better than Steph Curry? Well, Steph Curry going to eat him up when they see one another. Pray for that brother tonight. That matchup takes place. We get all of that. But when you start talking about a female ref, talking about she's out of shape, she needs to stay in her lane, that comes across as very sexist. When you're talking about taking your team off the court because you don't like you got a technical foul, and then Adidas capitulates to that, that's very embarrassing. That's very embarrassing and unacceptable.
I don't know if you can hear me, Stephen A., but I thought my phone.
I'm losing you, Mike. I got to let you go. Call me back tomorrow. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much. Your signal was real, real bad. Look, there's no way around this. There is no adult alive in the real world who should condone what we saw LeVar Ball do. You don't quit and take your players off the court because you don't like the way a game is being called. You don't do something like that. That's irresponsible, and it's wrong. And you certainly don't tell a female ref to stay in her lane. And by the way, that's different than what he did on the Colin Cowherd show, because according to what I was told, the female that he went after, even though I don't like what he said or like him turning his back to her, he was like, she disrespected him as a man and as a father with some of the things that she had said before he got onto the show. So he took it personal, and that's what that was about. This is different. You don't like the way the game is being officiated, so you want to have the female referee removed and Adidas capitulates? And on top of it all, you're threatening to take your team off the court just because you got a technical foul? That's excessive. That can't be allowed. And who's to say he's going to keep his mouth shut when it comes to Lonzo and the Lakers? Are you kidding me? Please. More on Kyrie, more on Lonzo, and some NFL stuff in hour number 2. Up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. For 2. For the Stephen A. Smith Show, here with you for the next hour or so over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80, 710 ESPN LA, 98.7 FM, New York City. The number to call up, as always, is 866-729. That's 866-729-3776, 866-729 ESPN. Congratulations for this upcoming weekend to the Hall of Fame inductees, the class of 2017. Kicker Morton Anderson, running back Terrell Davis, safety Kenny Easley, owner, president, and general manager Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys, defensive end for the Miami Dolphins Jason Taylor, running back LaDainian Tomlinson, and, of course, quarterback Kurt Warner. Have no problem with any of those selections, believe it or not, including Jerry Jones. Yes, it is absolutely positively true. I can't stand the Cowboys. What I mean by that is simply this, to be more specific. I can't stand the Dallas Cowboy fan base. I think the Dallas Cowboy fan base is the worst, most delusional, nauseating, disgusting fan base in the history of North American sports. Very, very few kinds of people rake my nerves more than Cowboy fans. They're just nauseating. They can go they can sit up there, they can stick out their chest, talking smack all year long about what they're going to do. And then, they lose on a Sunday to Green Bay at 7 o'clock. By 7:30, we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, right? That's a Cowboy fan. And then on top of it all, they can go 3-13 or 5-11 or 4-12. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. We're going to win the Super Bowl next year, right? This is what they do every year. They never take a moment to wallow in their own ish. They make me sick to no end. But I'm a fair-minded individual. I believe in fairness. And I cannot deny the greatness of owner Jerry Jones. To buy this team in 1989 for $140 million, for them to presently be worth $4.28 billion, to sit up there and facilitate the television deal that ultimately was reached between the NFL and the networks that air its games, to be involved in collective bargaining negotiations in the manner that which he was, where he helped secure core certainty with an unprecedented 10-year agreement with the Players Association to fight legally against the very, very league that he helps represent in the National Football League, to make sure that his rights were separate and apart, at least to some degree, from the rest of the teams, and to succeed in doing so, thereby ensuring that he would make more money than practically or literally anybody else in the NFL, is pure genius. The fact that they haven't won a Super Bowl championship, that they've been a model of ineptitude for so many years, and all of those things that come with it, yes, I get on them about that. But don't confuse it. It's all in fun. I'm a native New York. I'm just having fun with y'all. I respect the hell out of Jerry Jones. And I appreciate the job that he has done in marketing and selling his franchise to the masses. There's a lot to be said, and he deserves a lot of credit. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. One of the other things I wanted to get into involving the Dallas Cowboys is something else that's going on that I'm going to just go out there front and center and tell you I think it's unfair. And that's what's happening to Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not being presumptuous here. In no way am I proclaiming his innocence in any way. When he was accused by his girlfriend, his then girlfriend, of sexual assault, make no mistake about it, if he's guilty of such a thing, I want him to pay. Just like I want any man to pay for being such a punk, doing something like that to a woman. But he's never been charged. Local prosecutors in Columbus, Ohio, dropped their investigation because of inconsistent evidence and testimony. Why is this still an ongoing thing with the National Football League? Almost a year. Why? How fair is that to this young man? So a sheer accusation leads the National Football League, who have not yet made a decision about him, by the way. Keep that in mind. Darrelle Revis was arrested and charged. Assault and robbery and all of that other stuff. It was all bogus because he was outside one of his own businesses and somebody was bothering him 2 o'clock in the morning, so he had to drop him. But nevertheless, in a span of less than 2.5 months, he was arrested, he was charged, case was ultimately dropped, and the NFL dropped it. But somehow, some way, you allowed this Ezekiel Elliott investigation to be ongoing into perpetuity for all we know. Ezekiel Elliott does not deserve that. Unless you know something that you're not telling us, that there's a level of guilt attached to his name, leave that man alone. And if you got a problem with the fact that he even felt himself in that situation and thereby feel the need to discipline him because of the integrity of the league and smearing the shield, then suspend him. Either way, there's a conclusion to it all. To have this still open and lagging in front of everybody else's face, with the world wondering whether or not he's a sexual assaulter in an official capacity because of the NFL's dereliction of duty in terms of making sure that they resolve the issue one way or another when the courts have already done it. Not sexual assault, I apologize. I spoke out of turn. Domestic violence, not sexual assault. I apologize for that. Again, it was not sexual assault he was being accused of. It was domestic violence. But to have that just dangling out there about him with no conclusion is cruel. It's not right. If he's guilty of domestic violence, suspend his behind. Even if the courts don't have enough evidence to arrest him or anything like that. If you have enough evidence to say that he put himself in that kind of compromising position and it needs to be corrected, suspend Ezekiel Elliott now. But to just have this dangling out there about him, with the NFL apparently willing to acknowledge they just don't know. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. You have no right to hover over this man like this. Despite his stupidity, pulling on a girl's shirt, exposing her cleavage during some party or parade or whatever it was, going to Seattle and looking in the weed spots and getting busted doing that. Despite all of that, he does not deserve this unless you definitively have reason to believe there's some semblance of guilt attached to his name in regards to this domestic violence accusation. It's wrong. And by the way, they ain't been the only time the Cowboys have been wrong. I mean, the NFL has been wrong, but the Cowboys were also wrong because with Lucky Whitehead, this dude gets, talking about robbery and all of this other stuff. This dude's name is raked through the coals. Come to find out, it was a case of mistaken identity. The police department apologized to the man, for Christ's sakes. And still, the Dallas Cowboys, having already let him go, couldn't even have the decency to say, we apologize if we contributed to elevating a belief of his guilt in any way because it was a case of mistaken identity. We got that ridiculous quote from Jason Garrett. Talking about he's just here talking about football, trying to imitate beast mode Marshawn Lynch in his own way. Should be ashamed of himself. And so should the Cowboys. But on this Ezekiel Elliott matter, that's the NFL. And by the way, these women that Roger Goodell brought in that are supposed to provide some level of supervision over domestic violence issues, where the hell are they? I haven't heard from any of them. I mean, what purpose do they serve if we can't even hear what their positions are on anything? What purpose do they serve? 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. This is Stephen A. Smith. By the way, when it comes to our cars, one thing is almost certain. Something at some time is going to break down, and if your vehicle warranty is expired, one big repair can break your bank. There are auto protection plans out there, of course, but only one stands alone. That's Toco Warranty. With Toco, you don't pay upfront fees for service you may never use. Toco makes protecting your car easy with their pay-as-you-go plan. Just a small amount each month and keep the protection for as long as you like. With Toco, there is no long-term contract, no upfront fees, and you can cancel at any time. So get peace of mind, please, knowing you're protected with coverage plans on the engine, electrical, transmission, cooling system, drive axle, and more. Plus, enjoy the benefits of roadside assistance and paid rental car fees. Toco's special concierge service guides you through the entire process from sales to claims to customer service, all under one roof. So don't risk being grounded by auto repairs you can't afford. See if you qualify for Toco at 800-211-2884. That's 800-211-2884. That's 800-211-2884. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
10 minutes past the hour. Back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. A couple more things I want to get into before I got back to the phones. John Bones Jones handled his business Saturday night in the Octagon, UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. He was fighting Daniel Cormier. KO. Third round. Caught him with a kick. Ultimately staggered him. Got him to the ground. And just pounded him down. Referee stopped the fight. I love me some John Bones Jones. He's my favorite fighter in the UFC. When he got himself, seemed to be going off the rails a little bit, got himself into some trouble, I was very saddened by that because I'm very fond of him. Had the pleasure of meeting him a few times here at ESPN, and I just love his competitiveness. I love his talent. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's the best in the world. I'm happy he's won. I'm happy he's back on top. I am not happy it was at the expense of Daniel Cormier. And I'm proud of John Bones Jones for talking in the way that he talked about Daniel Cormier afterwards. Spoke about him very, very respectfully. And he deserved it because remember how they used to go at each other, ladies and gentlemen? The venom that both, expressed towards one another. I remember when ultimately John Bones Jones had that positive test result that caused them to cancel his, he had to be removed from fighting Cormier the second go round. And I remember how Cormier walked up to that stage, to that podium, and he had every incentive in the world to just, talk about kicking a man when he's down. He could have really stomped all over John Bones Jones, who was in tears because of the positive test and ultimately his inability to compete for that championship that time. And Daniel Cormier could not have been more respectful. Very kind, very classy. And he just didn't have to do that. And Daniel Cormier is a guy that's a champion. I love the work he does on Fox Television, believe it or not. I know I work for ESPN, but hell, I respect my competitors. I respect my contemporaries and colleagues. And this guy, as a broadcaster, calling those UFC fights, doing pre-fight, post-fight coverage, I think he's exceptional. But he steps in that octagon, whether it's Anthony Johnson or others, this brother, he steps up and he fights, and he's beating all of them, except John Bones Jones. So it was real sad to see him lose the way he lost Saturday night. I'm really happy for John Bones Jones. I just hate that it was at the expense of Daniel Cormier. But John Bones Jones is the real deal. Make no mistake about it. He is the real deal. And by the way, let me just say it for the record right here, right now. I do believe he will beat Brock Lesnar if he moved up to the heavyweight division. As big as Brock Lesnar is, probably a 40-pound advantage or whatever, I think he'll beat him. I really, really do. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Zach in Brooklyn. Talk to me. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A. It's your boy Zach. Again, I love all your work, but I want to get down to this main question that's really going to blow your ears. Everybody's talking about Kyrie going to the Knicks, Heat, Minnesota, but what about the Bucks? Because think about it, right?
He ain't going to Milwaukee, bro.
I know he's not going to Milwaukee, but just say what if, right?
No.
Think about all the young talent.
No, I can't do that. I can't entertain it. You know why? Because you know what you don't think about? In order for him to end up someplace like that, they'd have to give up players to get him. See, I don't mind fantasizing about it if he were a free agent. But where I'm allergic to that kind of fantasizing is due to the fact that when it involves a trade, you have to take back something. And whether it's the Greek Freak or a healthy Jabari Parker or Brogdon and others, there's no getting around that Kyrie can't go to some place like Milwaukee without Milwaukee surrendering big-time compensation in order to get him. That's the problem, Zach.
If he goes to New York, I'm telling you this right now, not next year, but whenever he does go, they're going to make the playoffs for the next year, too.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I don't know if you are. But I hope you're right. I really do.
He's going to go down as one of the greatest players, if not top 15, if not top 10 in his career, so it's said and done.
I won't go that far. Not top 10 all time. There are too many guys that are freaks of nature, like the LeBrons of the world, Kevin Durant, 6'9", 6'11", freaks of nature, stuff like that. He's a 6'2" guard. He's a scoring machine. He's sensational. But if Allen Iverson ain't one of the top 10 players of all time, how Kyrie going to be? Isaiah Thomas is a two-time champion, won a national championship in Indiana. The greatest little guard, you can make the argument, in history. Because Nate Tiny Archibald and Allen Iverson and guys like that, they don't have Isaiah Thomas's resume. We don't bring Isaiah Thomas up enough. And he was the ringleader of the Bad Boys. So damn sure ain't going to be Kyrie. But I love Kyrie, and he's big time. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Jeff. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Jeff, talk to me. Good afternoon.
Hey, thank you, Stephen A., for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, Stephen A., I just want to talk about I'm a Dallas fan, okay? And I don't have a problem with, I know you don't like Dallas and stuff like this,
Sure.
but what I have a problem with is putting me in a category with everybody else. I think I'm a fair fan. I am a realist. I know we're not going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if we're going to go to the Super Bowl this year or not because the defense is weak.
Right.
But
don't put all of us in the same category.
Right there, you just proved that you are just like the rest of the Dallas Cowboys. You know why?
How did I prove that?
I'm getting ready to tell you how you proved it. I'm getting ready to tell
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
Because I'm having fun. And what are you doing? And what are you doing? The Ultra Sister. I'm not like them. We're not all the same. Of course you're not all the same.
No, we're not. We're not all. I'm not all.
Listen, you're not all the same. Who the hell doesn't know that? Of course you're not all the same. Only the Dallas Cowboy fan that is exactly how I described them to be would take that personal.
I'm not taking it personal. I'm not taking it personal. I'm just saying
But if I'm not talking about you, why would you even bother? Why would you even bother?
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying, but why wouldn't you call me up to ask a question or talk about the Cowboys as opposed to your point being, well, I'm not like them?
That's
of course
right.
you're not.
I'm not.
Everybody, of course not. Nobody's the same.
Nobody's the same. You're right.
Everybody's
Absolutely.
different. But look at how sensitive you are. Why so sensitive,
I'm not sensitive. I'm not sensitive. I take rubbings every day.
Why so
and I'm fair
sensitive
to
about
everybody.
the Cowboys? Why so sensitive about the Cowboys? Why?
I'm not sensitive about the Cowboys.
Let me ask you a question. What are Cowboy fans really like? Eliminate yourself out of the equation. What are the typical Cowboys fan like?
A lot of them are less like you said, but I'm not one of them. They're obnoxious. They're not realists.
Well, damn it, since you on the air with me, what's your last name?
Jones.
Jeff Jones is not like every Cowboy fan out there, the typical Cowboy fan out there. Is that where you from, Jeff Jones? Where you from?
I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
You from Richmond, Virginia? Jeff Jones from Richmond, Virginia is not
right
like
here,
the typical
right here where the Redskins practice at.
It's not like the typical Cowboy fan. Now, I said that to the national airwaves. Now, repeat this for me. How are the typical, not you, not Jeff Jones from Richmond, how are the typical Cowboy fan?
Well, they're obnoxious. They are. I mean, they are, and I know they are. And I have to tell them sometimes, hey, guys, everything's not going to happen the way you say it's going to happen. You got to be real with these things.
Wait a minute.
Just like I'm saying here now.
Jeff, what do you mean everything? What do you mean everything?
Is horrible right now.
What do you mean, Jeff, everything? How about nothing? Y'all haven't won in 22 years.
I know that. We have not won in 22 years.
2 playoff games.
I understand the mistakes they made. I understand all the things that's going on.
2 playoff wins in 22 years. 2?
Right.
Horrible. Say it with me, Jeff. Get it out your chest.
I'm saying that is horrible. That is outright disgusting. But I'm not going to switch teams. I'm not going to jump the ship.
All right. I'm just wanting to make sure. As long as you give me that, I'm good. You watching the Redskins, you're a little jealous of them, ain't you?
Anybody else?
You're a little jealous of the Redskins. You're a little jealous of the Redskins, are you?
No.
You shouldn't be.
No.
They ain't won a Super Bowl since 91, man. You shouldn't be.
No.
You shouldn't be.
And I got to put up them every day because I right by their practice facility.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Appreciate the call, man. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. More of your calls on the Cowboys, on Kyrie, on John Bones Jones, on LaVar Ball, and then some. You're still listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Back to the phones we go. Right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. James in Long Island, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, James. Good afternoon. Good morning.
What's going on, man? How are you today?
I'm all right. What's up?
I just want to talk about Saturday night. DC definitely had a great 3 rounds, was winning the fight. John Jones did what he always do. He beat him. No questions asked. He was very respectful after. Thought he had said it. But it almost seems that he's thinking that what he did on Saturday and after he spoke, everything's going to be forgotten about. I still think he has a lot to prove in terms of him as a person before he can be.
Whoa. Stop right there. He always has something to prove as a person. James, he confessed to that. When people talked about he was past his troubles, he said, no, it's one day at a time, one battle at a time. You understand? Whatever substance issues he may have had that were affecting his behavioral issues or manipulating his behavioral issues, he acknowledges that. Here's my question to you, James. When do we get to a point where we show some compassion? And what I mean by that is that we're not failing to acknowledge what he's been through. But the man has been out of the game for 2 years. Comes back, and his first fight is against the reigning light heavyweight champion, who's no pushover.
Absolutely.
And he KOs him.
Definitely.
Come on, James. I mean, why can't that be the focus is what I'm asking.
Oh, that's definitely the focus, but it can't be. You can't completely put all your eggs in one basket, because what if he messes up again?
What eggs? But what eggs, James? What?
But it's not just one.
James, all we said was, "Damn, the man looks like. He's the best in the world."
I agree.
That's all we
I
said.
agree.
We didn't sit up here and act like the man's the Pope. We said he's the best in the world. That's all we said.
And what do you think? You still think McGregor's got no shot?
Yes. I think he got. I remember I gave him a 1% chance. Max, my man Max Kellerman doesn't even believe that Conor McGregor will touch Floyd Mayweather.
Everybody's got to punch his chance.
I believe he has a 1% chance, because when Conor McGregor hits people, they tend to fall.
Go to sleep. That's it.
That's me.
Thank you.
I'll give him that chance, but that's his only chance. Let's go to Ramsey in Cali. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Ramsey?
Yeah, Stephen A. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the Mikey Broner, Adrian Garcia fight.
Yeah, I saw some of it. I saw some of it. Garcia completely dominated him. But look, listen, I like Garcia. He didn't carry his power up to the higher weight class with him that he had at the lower class. But his boxing skills are really, really good. He's very disciplined. I like him a lot. And I like the fact that he beat Broner, because here's my issue with Broner. Broner talks a lot of trash, and all of that's true. My problem with fighters is when you play around too much. That's my issue. And if you look at Broner, he's not the most active fighter in the world. He doesn't throw a lot of punches every round. He really doesn't.
No.
He really doesn't.
Now, would you like to see, if he wins on the 26th, would you want to see a Terrence Crawford, Mikey Garcia title fight?
That would not bother me. That would not bother me. That would be very good. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was hoping to see Terrence Crawford versus Pacquiao, but even though I thought Pacquiao, the decision against the Australian, was completely bogus, in the same breath, Pacquiao, there is definitely some slippage there. He doesn't appear to be what he once was, and as a result, you might have me there. Garcia might be the way to go for Crawford.
And here's the thing, my take with Adrian Broner, the three biggest fights he's had, he hasn't showed up. So he may have won four weight class or four titles in four different weight classes, but the three biggest fights in your career, you don't show up.
Who's that?
When he lost to Maidana, when he lost to Sean Porter in this fight here.
Oh, you talk about Broner?
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? He plays around. That's my issue with Broner. Broner plays. Listen, that was my problem with Zab Judah. I like Zab Judah genuinely as a person. And Zab Judah had speed. He had power. Plus, he was a southpaw. What was his downfall? He was playing around.
And he got in the fight. He got him. Zab Judah got embarrassed by Costa Zoo.
Well, you remember that he got up and the legs were shivering, and then he fell back down, and then got mad at the referee for stopping the fight. That's what happens when you play. That's what happens when you play around. But pugilistic sports, that's my problem with Anderson Silva in the UFC, when my boy from Long Island ultimately KO'd him. If you up there and you put your hands up and you're protecting yourself, that doesn't happen, but you're playing around. Yeah. And that's how you got caught.
Yeah, and and that was probably one of the most embarrassing fights I've seen.
Oh, my Lord. I got you, Ramsey. Excuse me for changing the subject. I just looked up at the television screen. The new White House communications director, who just got hired, Anthony Scaramucci, he just resigned. I mean, Lord have mercy. How long was he on the job? 6 days? Oh, my Lord. Oh, you can't make this up. You can't make it up. Back to the phones. Let's go to Kenneth in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Kenneth.
Hey, Stephen A. I just wanted to call and comment on the LeVar Ball situation.
Okay, turn your radio down to make sure we don't hear the echo, please. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. My opinion is that, you got to realize this is AAU basketball. A lot of times,
I asked you to turn down your radio, bro. Turn down that radio. We're not hearing just you. Turn down that radio now, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, AAU basketball is, a lot of times these referees are overqualified. Sometimes you got to look at, you can't look at LeVar Ball. You got to take a look at that referee also.
Kenneth, you're a grown man. You have children, Kenneth?
Go ahead.
Kenneth, do you have children?
Yes.
Are you comfortable with a coach that doesn't get his way, bad officiating or whatever, and says, I'm going to take my kids off the floor? You're not going to play. You comfortable with that?
No, not at all. I'm not comfortable at all with
that's
that
the
part.
issue, though,
He was
Kenneth.
wrong. He was wrong for that. He was wrong for that part right there. But you have to realize a lot of these coaches that coach AAU, they don't referee in a venue like he was in. I think that
that's fair.
Sometimes
that's fair, Kenneth. I don't disagree with you. That's fair. What I'm saying is the bigger point is the issue of sportsmanship. What are you doing teaching kids just take your ball and go home, don't play, quit? You get a technical foul, and because of that, you threaten to take your kids off the court? You get caught for a second technical foul by the male referee after you got the female removed, and then you say, well, you know what, I refuse to leave when the rules stipulate that you have to leave if you're ejected from a game? You can't justify that, Kenneth.
No, I can't justify that, but you got to look at the referees too, Stephen, because look at the NCAA championship this year with North Carolina and Kentucky. I mean, I bet you Calipari wants to take his team off the floor, but
agree,
he couldn't.
But did he? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. And Kenneth, let me ask you a question real quick before I let you go, because I know you're a sensible man, and like you said, you have children. Can I ask you a question? Do you know of any athlete on any level, AAU, high school, college, or pros, in any sport, who has never had officiating who has never been in a position to complain about officiating? Ever.
Oh, no. You're always going to find that. You're always going to complain about that official.
But, Kenneth, that's all we're talking about here. That's all we're talking about here. It doesn't matter. Even though your points are valid about the officials, it doesn't matter. Because in the end, what's he going to do next? Show up at Staples Center, and if Lonzo ain't getting the right calls, he going to tell his son don't play? What's next?
I hear you.
Appreciate the call, Kenneth. 866-729-ESPN. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. It's Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
As we go right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Vinny in Staten Island, talk to me, Bill. How you doing, man?
What's going on, Stephen?
I'm all right. Go ahead, buddy.
I just wanted to talk about the Kyrie Irving thing. I think that if he comes to the Knicks, he'll be real dominant. You know, they don't have a point guard. He'll show up.
Well, he's a scoring machine. He's got the ball in his hands, and he'll be able to do a lot of different things. But more importantly to me than anything else, he's a champion. And he has shown up in championship moments. It's not like he just rode the coattails of LeBron James. He was that dude helping LeBron deliver a title. He validated why LeBron decided to come home instead of staying in South Beach. That, to me, is what cannot be ignored. Appreciate the call, Vinny. Thank you so much. Let's go to Ron. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Ron?
Hi, Stephen A. Well, why does Carmelo not want to go to Cleveland?
It's not that he doesn't want to go to Cleveland. It's that his number one preference is Houston.
Is it just because of CP3?
I think that well, he and CP3 are very, very close. Like as tight as all four of them are, D-Wade, LeBron, CP3, and Melo and CP3 are very tight.
Now, let me ask you this, Stephen A. If you were in Carmelo's shoes, obviously you got the East. Would you want to play with LeBron or would you want to play with CP3 and Harden?
Me personally, I would prefer LeBron. But the flip side to it is that Houston, you're talking about a state with no state income taxes. Your money goes further. You believe that the combination of you two not only would beat San Antonio, but could possibly take Golden State in your estimation if you're Carmelo and those boys, and that's what you would rather do. Plus, you'd rather live in Houston than Cleveland, Ohio.
I got you. I mean, I want him to help the Knicks out, so I'm desperate, and I'm just like.
Listen. I think that he should go. I would prefer that he go to Cleveland myself because anything it takes to get Kyrie is what I'm in support of. I just don't know if it could be done, bro.
All right, buddy.
Thank you. Let's go to Anthony in Brooklyn. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Anthony. How are you?
Hey, Stephen A. First time, long time. Big fan of you, and that's an understatement.
Thank you.
And I respect your basketball knowledge, but I do disagree with you on the Kyrie trade, and I'll tell you why.
You're supposed to disagree with me from time to time. Y'all sharpen me up. I don't mind. Go ahead, buddy.
Of course. Okay, so there's pros and cons to the Kyrie trade. So the pros are him and KP together. Okay, it'd be a nice start. That's what the fans want to do. They want to build a nice team, and that's a nice duo to start with. But here are the cons. If Kyrie would hypothetically be traded to the Knicks, the top 5 Knicks contracts would be Kyrie Irving, Noah, Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, and Lance Thomas. Hardaway Jr. and Joakim Noah are taking up 40% of our cap. Mm-hmm. The problem is we're not going to be able to acquire another star for at least 2 more years. So we would have only Kyrie Irving and Kristaps Porzingis.
Time out. Never think like that because obviously there are moves to be made. What you got is Steve Mills and Scott Perry having a mission to clean up the mess that was created by Phil Jackson and some of these players that he signed the contracts and trying to incorporate the triangle. It's not like it's the be-all, end-all, and it ends there. Secondly, Carmelo is 32. Kyrie is 25. Thirdly, Kyrie's a champion. Melo is not. Fourth, and more importantly than anything else, you've got the cornerstones of your franchise both being 25 years of age or younger. You take those things into consideration along with the moves that are there to be made down the line with the elevation of the cap obviously being a factor as well, and there's definitely more of an upside than a downside to Kyrie arriving in New York.
Well, okay, we could look at it that way, but think of this scenario. For the first time in a very long time, and it's hard to get into this kind of area with the New York Knicks fans who never want to rebuild, we have a great opportunity to rebuild. Why? Because, okay, we have Porzingis, we have Willie, and I don't think Willie's going to be an all-star player. I'm not saying that, but on a good team, he could be a six-man type of player, like an Enes Kanter type of role. We have Ntilikina, who he's 18 years old.
I'm not going to let you go down the roster, bro, because you only got a few seconds because I got to get to my next caller. I get your point. Knicks are committed to $99 million. Contractually, they got a few bad contracts that they'll have to get rid of, but it doesn't usurp my overlying point, and that is if Kyrie and Porzingis are the cornerstones of your franchise, and now you add Tim Hardaway Jr. to that mix and his $71 million 4-year deal that he just signed with the New York Knicks. All I'm saying to you is that the cornerstones of your franchise are relatively young, and that's an upside to look forward to, in my opinion. But I got to run. Appreciate the call. Jack in Bedford, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Jack, go.
Hi, Stephen. It's Jack. What's up?
I just said what's up. You got to hurry up. Go ahead.
All right. Do you think that Odell Beckham Jr. will be the highest paid wide receiver?
I think he has a chance to become the highest paid wide receiver if he keeps his head on straight and do some of the right things. If he continues to be a distraction, he's going to be perceived as being risque. And by virtue of that, the Giants are going to be reluctant. They want to give him the money. They want to make sure they take care of him. He'll never be the highest paid player in football like he wants. That will never, ever happen because contrary to what ESPN might put out there, they talk about Stephen A. says he's not going to be the highest paid player because he's got to learn how to act. He does have to learn how to discipline himself to some degree, but he doesn't commit any crimes or anything like that. That's not his biggest issue. The biggest issue is that he'll never be the highest paid player in the game because he's not a quarterback. And as long as you're not a quarterback and you're a wide receiver, you will never be the highest paid player in football. It is just that simple. I'll holler at y'all 22 hours from now. It's Stephen A. signing off. Until then, peace and love, y'all.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.